Mamata Banerjee's Trinamool Congress announced on Sunday candidates for all 42 Lok Sabha seats in Bengal, getting IPL franchises KKR's retired star all-rounder Yusuf Pathan to pad up for his political debut alongside 25 other fresh faces and dropping 5 sitting MPs from the team. The list officially hammers the last nail into India bloc in Bengal, though there was little doubt this was coming after TMC seat-sharing spat with Congress over a month ago. Expelled MP Mahua Moitri is among 16 from TMC's winning 2019 lineup to be renominated. Pathan will contest Behrampur seat against a possibly formidable opponent in Congress, Adhir Ranjan Chaudhary, whom TMC blames for the bloc falling apart in Bengal. President Joe Biden rebuked Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu of Israel on Saturday over the rising civilian death toll in the Gaza Strip, even as he reaffirmed American support for a long-time ally. He has a right to defend Israel, a right to continue to pursue Hamas, but he must pay more attention to the innocent lives being lost as a consequence of the actions taken, Biden said of Netanyahu in an interview with MSNBC. In my view, he is hurting Israel more than helping Israel, Biden said, appearing to refer to Netanyahu's military strategy. It's contrary to what Israel stands for, and I think it's a big mistake, so I want to see a ceasefire. Asked if he had red line Netanyahu should not cross like a ground invasion of Rafah, Biden offered a muddled response but said the defense of Israel is still critical. He cannot have 30,000 more Palestinians dead as a consequence of his pursuit of Hamas, Biden said. There's another way to deal with the trauma caused by Hamas, he added. Gazan Health Ministry had said over 31,000 people have been killed since Israel began the war with response to attacks by Hamas. But Biden's comments once again highlighted the delicate position in the US has found itself in arming Israel while at the same time providing humanitarian aid to Gaza. Biden has become more forceful in recent days about the plight of civilians in Gaza, urging Netanyahu not to go ahead with his stated plans to launch a major ground offensive in Rafah without a plan to protect the civilians sheltering here. Maldives has for the first time acquired surveillance drones from Turkey for patrolling its vast exclusive economic zone, according to reports Sunday. Efforts have begun by the state to establish a drone base in Nonu Atoll, Mafru, to operate the military drones to conduct monitoring of Maldives' oceans territories. Edition My Views portal reported. Turkey was the first country visited by Mahmoud Moizu after he was sworn in as president in November. During his visit, he had seen the various military vehicles produced by the country and formed an agreement with the Turkish company to import military drones into his country, the report said. However, Maldives government has not disclosed details of the agreement. The drones from Turkish company Baker TB2 drones were delivered on March 3, reported said. Moizu, upon his return from China in January, had indicated his government was looking to acquire surveillance drones. On March 4, Moizu announced his country is working to establish a 24/7 monitoring system for Maldivian waters this month to ensure control of its exclusive economic zone despite its significantly large area. Adhadur news portal also reported that earlier this year, President's office amended import duty waiver procedure to give President the discretion to remove import duties on them for use by the security services. Since his tumultuous turnover of Twitter, Elon Musk has made an unabashed turn to the right, politically defying the orthodoxy that Silicon Valley is a citadel of well-held liberals beholden to Democrats. Long considered non-identifiable ideologically, Musk politics are now hardline right-wing as he uses his platform to stoke the themes cherished by Fox News, Conservative Talks Radio, and four right movements across the West. But beyond the post, the question on everyone's mind is whether the world's second richest person will put his weight and wealth behind the bid of former US President Donald Trump to retake White House. Trump is seriously trailing Biden in raising campaign funds, and Musk could single-handedly make up the shortfall. Musk returned to X to insist that, to be super clear, I am not donating money to either candidate for president. But the funding of US elections is opaque and complicated, and Biden backers worry that Musk could change his mind or fund political committees that themselves finance Trump to find other ways to help the Republican cause. Musk is not alone. Other Silicon Valley mavens are also defending conservative causes, making noise in what electorally remains a liberal stronghold. Some tycoons are seeking to build a political movement that, even if not directly supporting Trump, embraces conservative causes, cryptocurrencies, and goes against the California grain. One of the loudest voices in this shift is Mark Anderson, the early internet tycoon who founded Netscape and now co-runs Anderson Howard, a vulnerable venture capital company. Once a typically left-of-center tech magnate who had close ties to AI Glore, Anderson now fights vehemently against left-wing priorities, especially so-called woke considerations about equality or workplace inclusiveness. Swiss chocolates, watches, wine and soft drinks, Norwegian salmon and mackerel are amongst a host of items said to get cheaper after India and European Free Trade Association members Switzerland, Norway, Iceland and Liechtenstein signed a trade treaty Sunday. Cut and polished diamonds will see customs duty cuts. Almost 18 years after it was first conceived by Haryana to build an extra Delhi and Gurgaon link, PM Modi will open the first leg of 9,000 crore Dwarka Expressway on Monday. As the beautification and restoration of Vasudev Ghat near completion, Delhi Development Authority has finalized a plan for organizing a regular Yamuna Aarti here like the Ganga Aarti in Varanasi. Visited the place on Friday when silt removal was in progress at the Ghat, which is spread over 16 hectares. The pilot is part of DDA's initiative for rejuvenating 66 hectares of ghats from Wazirabad to the old railway bridge on the western bank. Lieutenant Governor V.K. Saxena is likely to inaugurate Vasudev Ghat on Tuesday. The horticulture, walkway and restoration work are almost complete. The stress is more on clearing silt so that the river water can reach the steps constructed at the bank and Aarti can be performed here regularly. We are already signed an MOU with an organization that would performing the Aarti every evening, an official said. The ghat covering the existing Yamuna Ghat to Nigam Bodh Ghat is unique among ongoing projects for restoration and rejuvenation of floodplains of river Yamuna, officials said. Besides developing green lawns from a provision for a 3-kilometer cycling tracks and walking area, the place has been given a historic look with interesting artwork. Landscaping of the place has been done in the Charbagh style with bardaris and chhatris derived from the vocabulary of the historic garden of the adjacent Kudisia Bagh, the official said. A 250 kg metal belt sourced from famous craftsman in Jalesar, Rajasthan is installed near the entrance. Huge elephant structure made to pink Kota stone are another attractions, the official added. At the revamped central verge of the ring road facing this ghat, similar kinds of sculpture can be installed, giving a new look to this space. National Green Tribunal has asked Haryana State Pollution Control Board to take remedial measures against 2 drains in Sonipat in 12 months and directed it to file a progress report by September. Reported that Delhi Jal Board had informed NGT that drain number 6 in Sonipat often overflowed into drain number 8 that ran parallel to it and eventually reached Yamuna in Delhi, affecting the water quality of Wazirabad pond. The tribunal directed HSPCB to maintain both drains regularly so that there may not be any occasion of diversion of sewage from one drain to another which may cause pollution, and to complete long-term measures for construction of closed conduit as are stated in the reports within 12 months. HSPCB will continue to monitor the above work and ensure that there should not be any cause of pollution on account of any negligence in maintenance of above drains as well as from CTPs, and ensure that no violation is observed by any of the other official respondents in the matter, and if there is any occasion of violation, appropriate preventive, punitive and remedial action shall be taken in accordance with law, said NGT's bench in an order dated March 6. The order was shared recently. It was business as usual at Election Commission's Nirvachan Southern Office on March 7, a day before Election Commissioner Arun Goel submitted his resignation to President Draupadi Murmu. That day, Goel had taken part in an off-camera interaction between EC led by Chief Election Commissioner Rajiv Kumar and members of the international media. The meeting was organized by the Ministry of External Affairs. Earlier on March 4 and 5, Kumar and Goel were in the West Bengal as part of EC's customary pre-poll visit to different state union territories to assess election preparedness. Sources indicated that Goel had early into the visit complained of uneasiness, discomfort. However, he attended each of EC's meeting with different stakeholders, which went on till almost 8 p.m. on March 4. On the morning of March 5, sources told, a doctor's visit was arranged for Goel at the Oberoi Grand Hotel in Kolkata, where EC members were staying. The course of medicine started right away, but Goel, still in discomfort, excused himself from attending EC press conference in Kolkata at 12 noon on March 5. After EC wound up its Bengal visit with a press conference, Goel travelled back to Delhi along with CEC and other EC officials on the same flight, Vistara flight number this and this. On March 6, Goel attended office at Nirvachan Sadan, though there were no major meetings requiring the press conference presence of the full commission. On March 7, Goel along with CC Kumar was part of EC's interaction with the foreign media. As many as 27 journalists representing international media organizations like Reuters, the New York Times, Associated Press, this and this, were present as CEC fielded queries on matters relating to polls, EC and more. On the morning of March 8, the day he was to attend EC's meeting with Home Secretary Ajay Bhalla to finalize force logistics, which is most important input for deciding phasing of elections, Goel sent his resignation to the President. A copy of the resignation letter was not shared with CEC, nor was the letter sounded out. Goel stayed away from the office on March 8, leaving Kumar to finalize force logistics from the Home Secretary with the Home Secretary and the railway brass. Half of the cheetah population at Kuno National Park is now born in India. Cheetah Gemini had given birth to 5 cubs at Kuno in Shiopur district of MP, taking the number of Indian-born cheetahs to 13. The cubs were spotted by a Project Cheetah Patrol on Saturday. Union Environment Minister Bhupendra Yadav announced it on Sunday. This is the 4th cheetah litter on Indian soil and the first by a cheetah brought from the South Africa, Yadav posted. Kuno now has 26 cheetahs, half of them cubs, marking a significant milestone in India's ambitious conservation project. Officials said it is a happy sign that project is heading in the right direction and going according to plan. In January, Namibian cheetah Jwala gave birth to 3 cubs in the second litter. She had delivered 4 cubs in the first litter, of which 1 survived. Prior to this, cheetah Asha had delivered 3 furry members into the Kuno family. In what comes as a matter of pride for Gujarat, the International Union of Conservation of Nature, which categorized the Asiatic loin known as endangered in 2008, has reclassified it as vulnerable, indicating a positive shift in its conservation status. IUCN's first global report underlines a significant difference between African and Indian lions in the risk of decline. The iconic predators face the likelihood of a 33% decline in lion population in Africa is 19 times higher than in India, primarily due to rampant poaching here. Gujarat is the only abode of Asiatic lions in the world, and going by the IUCN report, Saurashtra offers them a much safer haven. The report states the loin population in Africa is estimated to have 41% probability of declining by one-third within 3 loin generations, while the risk is estimated to be at just 2% in Saurashtra, India. According to IUCN estimate, there are 23,000 loins in the wild today, including 674 in Gujarat. Enforcement Directorate had arrested Subhas Yadav, a close aide of RJD Supremo Lalu Prasad, in connection with a money laundering case involving illegal sand mining, report said. Stung by Mamata Banerjee's announcement of all 42 candidates for West Bengal, Congress skewed strong words for the Trinamool Congress leader and instead said the party is trying hard to keep all India allies together and that doors of partnership between them have still not been shut. Congress President Mallikarjun Kharge said an alliance to jointly fight BJP would be preferable, claiming that alliance can happen anytime till the date of withdrawal of candidatures. Congress spokesperson Jairam Ramesh, however, betrayed bitterness by remarking, "I don't know what pressure was there on TMC, but as far as we are concerned, we want to strengthen India alliance in West Bengal, so let's see what happens." State Congress President Azhir Ranjan Chaudhary on Sunday claimed that Mamata is fearful of PM Modi. Mamata is worried that if she joins India alliance, she will have to face Modi. She is worried that if ED and CBI start visiting TMC on Modi's orders, it could pose a risk to TMC. So by distancing herself from the alliance, Mamata is sending a message to Modi's office, "Don't be upset with me, I am not part of the alliance and I won't compete with BJP," he said. The comments reflected disappointment with TMC, with which Congress has been trying hard for a tie-up in Bengal and has been demanding 6 seats. However, Mamata had repeatedly said that she will not join hands with Congress. While Congress kept hoping for a partnership, TMC dashed its optimism on Sunday. It is now likely that Congress will continue to tie up with CPM in Bengal and also fight the polls together with Left Party in Tripura. Former Karnataka Deputy CM K.S. Ishwarupa has urged BJP central leadership to give his son K.E. Kantesh ticket for Haveri seat. He has asked former CM B.S. Yedurappa, now a former BJP's Parliamentary Board and Central Election Committee, to intercede on his behalf. Yedurappa said he will meet the party's central leadership in Delhi on Monday and convey Ishwarappa's demands. "I am requesting Ishwarappa through the media to join me on my Delhi trip," he asked. But Ishwarappa refused, saying he has already met all top functionaries earlier on this issue. Yedurappa is in the responsible post. If he talks to them, the issue will be sorted out, Ishwarappa said. Setting the tone of LDF's Lok Sabha campaign, Kerala CM Pinarayi Vijayan on Saturday said Congress cannot be trusted in taking on BJP as the former had lost political credibility. Left is only force that will not yield to any pressure. Its stand against communalism in unwavering. Only left could protect Indian constitution and parliamentary democracy, Vijayan said after inaugurating LDF Lok Sabha constituency conventions of Atigal and Trivandpuram. He added that the only political fronts voters in Kerala could repose their faith in the fight against communal forces was LDF. The Kerala CM said Congress leaders either supported BJP or remained silent when BJP government at centre took important decisions with wide-ranging implications. This, he said, was because economic policy of both parties was same. Vijayan, who criticized Congress for not protesting enough against abrogation of Article 370 by BJP government, said the Grand Old Party failed to react strongly against centre when it introduced NRC bill in parliament or when BJP amended UAPA Act. Both legislations, Vijayan said, were aimed at targeting a particular section in society and Congress could raise little effective resistance, he said. He said the trend of Congress leaders joining BJP has started to pick up in Kerala too, and people would understand the possibility of Congress MPs crossing over to BJP camp. Vijayan, who take a dig at Congress MP Shashi Tharoor for calling Hamas a terror outfit, said Congress failed to align with secular forces in protesting against Israel operation on Palestine. He said Congress not only failed to organize protests against Israel's aggression from Palestine but also remained divided over the issue. Women account for nearly 48% of authorized hospitalizations under Ayushman Bharat PM Jan Arogya Yojana, data assessed by Times of India show. Top officials in National Health Authority implementing agency of the scheme told that since its launch in 2018, 6.5 crore hospitalizations have been made under the scheme, which involved treatment cost rupees 81,000 crore. Officials said the utilization by women beneficiaries is higher than that of men in 10 states UTs Meghalaya, Arunachal Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, Mizoram, Nagaland, Jharkhand, Tripura and J&K. According to NHA documents, top specialists under PMJAY which were utilized more by women than men are cancer, ophthalmology, otorhinolaryngology, this and this. Enrollment under ABM PMJY scheme is steered by thousands of ASHA and Anganwadi workers across state UTs. Women are also constitute a significant percentage of healthcare providers at local units. This has helped increase utilization of the scheme among women who have traditionally lagged behind the health-seeking behavior, a senior health ministry official said. Amid buzz in political circles that coalition talk between BJP and BJD could be in final stages, the Saffron Party's Odisha leadership was summoned to Delhi by party central hierarchy on Sunday. Talks are doing the rounds that state BJP functionaries may be asked by the top leadership to refrain from making misleading comments on the alliance after party's Odisha chief Manmohan Sanmal strongly ruled out a coalition with BJD upon his return from Delhi on Friday. Samal General Secretary Manas Mohanty, State Election Incharge Vijaypal Singh Tomar and Co-Incharge Lata Usendi reached the national capital in the evening, their second visit to Delhi in the last 4 days as part of the strategy to fine-tune the alliance. On the fresh summon to Delhi, Samal said the party's central leadership wants to discuss the ground situation for upcoming Lok Sabha and Assembly elections in state. I am not aware of the agenda of the fresh meeting, though it will surely revolve around our preparedness, Samal said before leaving for Delhi. Asked about the alliance, Samal said, I do not want to comment on the alliance matter. Samal's response comes a day after the emergence of a short video featuring Chief Minister Naveen Patnaik and his aide VK Pandian, in which the BJD Supremo is heard saying rumors and lies are bad in politics. Though Naveen did not name anyone in the video, BJD sources said his message could not have been veiled jibe at Samal's earlier comment on alliance talk. A BJD source meanwhile said that the coalition discussions has ended on a positive note. Clarity noted, including seat sharing arrangements, but may emerge before Thursday, the sources said. In a scathing attack on Samajwadi Party in its political bastion, Azamgarh, PM Modi on Sunday said venom of appeasement is weakening with UPs touching a new height of development. Virtually inaugurating and laying foundation of projects worth rupees 42,000 crore across India with rupees 34,000 crore projects in UP alone. The PM recalled how people of Azamgarh help a youth like Dinesh demolish the fiefdom of a family to send out a message that the SP fort could be breached. While SP Patriarch Mulayam Singh Yadav represented Azamgarh in 14, his son Akhilesh Yadav replaced him as an MP in 19. However, SP candidate and Akhilesh cousin Dharmendra Yadav lost to BJP's Dinesh Lal Nirawa in 22 Lok Sabha by-poll. It's expected that Akhilesh will contest again from this seat. Once a victim of extremism, casteism and appeasement politics, this district has now emerged as an epitome of unending march of development. It will be Vikas ka Garh forever, the PM said, while PM used Anjan this for Azamgarh. UP Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath had referred to it as Aryamgarh in his past speeches. A dominant Satvik Siraj Ranki Reddy and Chirag Shetty won their first title of the year with a 21-11, 21-17 victory against Ji Li Hui and Yang Ho Hussein in the final of the French Open BWF Super 750 tournament in Paris on Sunday. They won the French Open in 2022 but lost in the second round last year, though they made it to the finals of all the three tournaments they played this year. Their first title. They lost in the finals of the Malaysian Open and the Indian Open tournaments. The Indians were so dominant on Sunday that they took just 36 minutes to oust their rivals, and this was the shortest final of the day. Satvik Chirag did not lose a single game in the entire tournament. With renewed vigor, they will now compete in the All England Championship from Tuesday, and unseeded Taipei pair proved no match for the Indians as they broke free from 4-4 in the first game to wrap it up with 21-11. Though Lee and Yang did well in the second, it was only till the 14th point. The Indians won 7 in the next 10 points. If it was Satvik's smash that won the first game, Chirag's full-blooded drive secured the match-winning point for the Indian pair. Late on Saturday, Lakshya Sen suffered a 3 games loss against the World Championship Kulwant Widersen of Thailand. 20 with this. Top seed NC Young and South Korean fought back after losing the first game to beat 4th seed Akane Yagamachi of Japan. In the women's singles final, Chinese shuttlers won 3 of the 5 titles on Sunday. Shi Yuqi triumphed in men's singles. Chen and this pocketed women's double title, and Feng Ya bagged the mixed double crown. In women's double, top seeds Chen and Jia pulled off a thrilling victory against Japanese 6th lead Nami and Chirao. Feng and Heng defeated this. Captain of the Australian women's team, Alice Haley, is no nonsense girl. She wears her heart on the sleeve of the field, and of it she is quite pragmatic. In India to lead the UP Warriors in the ongoing Women's Premier League, Haley took out time from her busy schedule to speak to Times of India and on a range of questions, from pay parity in the cricket to the increasing significance of power factor in the women's game. Haley's answers were precise and incisive, experts said. We are in the second edition of the WPL. What do you think? How the tournament contributed to women's cricket? The tournament is continuing to grow. Women's cricket in India is growing. The crowds have been amazing and got behind us. We are playing in 2 new cities. We obviously have played in Mumbai. The standard of the game has continued to improve, which is exactly the point of the competition. It's about creating depth in Indian cricket. We are seeing more and more young players confident in performing on the big stage that going to do wonders for Indian cricket in the next 10 to 15 years. Have you been entertained that above all it all should matter as a curtain draws on a rare 5-game series between 2 important flag bearers of modern Test cricket? The question is relevant because lately Ben Stokes and Braden McCullum's England have taken it upon themselves to inject zing into the game's oldest format. For over 2 years now, they have been self-appointed torch bearers of the next Test flame, seeking to keep the red ball format enjoyable by the thinking and playing out of the box. The notion had quite to beguile and captivative, with a bold approach to twist and sometimes even mangle Test cricket templates in an attempt to reorient crowds back to cricket's oldest, toughest, most tactically demanding format. They have often succeeded, sometimes even sacrificing victory by giving opponents a sniff like in the Ashes, just to keep matters interesting. In this three-minute age of abbreviated attention spans, England's under Stokes have reminded us of the infinite pleasures of watching a game unfold over days. It is a noble cause, except there were 2 problems, both of which have been highlighted on this India tour. The first is that in sport there is a thin line between the bold and the fancy. The second is that the 5-day game is a traditional format and tradition thrives in citadels. There is no way to outbox the lion in its den, and there is no one way to play Test cricket. England ran into an Indian team equally boastful of its credentials and fiercely proud of its home record. They refused to be lured into thinking differently and stuck to what has worked best. India now have a pace attack to rival the world's best, but what works best on home soil is a turning ball in the wizardly Ravichandran Ashwin, the disciplined Ravichandran Jadeja, and the wondrous Kuldeep Yadav. India knew they had the weapons to nullify England's power hitters. Having anticipated correctly, the England's batters would not be shy of giving the charge. India now needed to slide off the hand of their own. England had high hopes from their rocky spin attack because they were expecting to run into the usual rank turners where the gulf in skill sets would have been reduced. Instead, India dished out slow turners where experience and expertise came into play. Rahul Dravid underlined the importance of staying together and functioning as a unit of the triumph in the tough world of Test cricket while delivering a motivational dressing room speech after India registered a memorable 4-1 series win over England. After losing the opening test in Hyderabad, the host bounced back in stunning fashion to win the next 4 matches to claim the series. Series like this have to be earned, and this is tough. Test cricket is hard at times. It's hard in terms of your skill, it's hard physically, and you have seen it's hard mentally, Dravid said in a video posted on BCCI. But it's great satisfaction at the end of it, the satisfaction that you get winning a series like this, coming from one behind to be able to win 4. I think it's just phenomenal, he added. As key players like Virat Kohli and Mohammad Shami and KL Rahul, who played only the opener, were unavailable, India found heroes in some young names in the series. The home side handed debuts to 5 players: Sarjit Patidar, Dhruv Jurel, Devdutt Padikkal, Sarfaraz Khan and Akashdeep in the series. In fact, Jasprit Bumrah and Ravindra Jadeja too missed a test match. The Indian coaches have a cuffed man after some of those young names emerged with flying colours from the series. For a lot of you young guys, especially coming into this group, you are going to need each other to succeed. Whether you are a batsman or bowler or whatsoever you are, your success is tied in others people's success. All of you are invested in each other's success, and that's really important going forward. It's not about your success, it's about how you can help other people succeed, which will also help you succeed, he said. The 51-year-old was delighted to see the players finding ways to turn the tide whenever they were put under pressure. There were times in the series that we were really challenged and pushed, and we found a way to bounce back, which speaks to the skills, and we have the resilience that we have, the character that we have. On many occasions in this series, the games could have been gone either way, but we always found people in this dressing room who stepped up and turned the game our way, and that was fantastic.